5 undisclosed locations across Dallas, Texas. This is JediGoddess Presents right here on whatever platform she puts it on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and introduce first your hostess with the mostest, the JediGoddess herself. Hi, Christy.
Hi. May the force be with you and stay frosty, kids.
From an undisclosed logo across Dallas, Texas, please welcome the head kaiju in charge, Mr. Ligaki. Michael, how you doing?
Man, I think I'm going to have to switch this background. It's like Xanadu in here. It's bright.
From an undisclosed beige location in Limbo, please welcome Stilo.
Yes, a Clockwork Orange, baby.
And from a layer of overpriced music gear, please welcome the maestro, Chris Moore. How we doing?
This is the way.
Exactly.
This is the way to buy from Amazon. All right.
Wow. Heavily, thanks to the damn pandemic.
Oh, I see Michael's changed his background. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Meanwhile.
All right. I'm sorry.
Meanwhile.
We're in the market on the Ted Knight moment here. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Thank you.
Love it. I love it. Perfect.
All right, Christy, you've called us all here today to go over God knows what. We've already discussed it. We know we're going to discuss, but go ahead and tell the people what they want to hear.
I wanted to talk about the most beloved film of the year, Wonder Woman 84, a heartwarming tale of a girl and her lasso.
Chrissy has been fighting the entire internet this week.
You're not kidding.
Entire internet.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell the people out there how you enraged everybody?
Right?
Yeah, right.
Going into our
My boy, right there.
Taking the money.
So, well, I'll just put it this way. As we all know, Wonder Woman 84 was released onto HBO Max for Christmas Day as a gesture of goodwill and hope. Just be like, because it's not really safe because of COVID and 2020 and evil people. Couldn't go to see it in theaters, really. Most people.
Mm-hmm.
So they released it on the internet and sat down on a beautiful Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day rather, and sat down, put it in, watched it, and I loved it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go on the internet and just say it was great. It made me happy and I loved it.
That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is going, hey, DC, baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. Hey, because it was exactly that.
Because little did I know, this would enrage, put a fire in the belly of a toxic fandom that would cause it to crawl from the ooze.
Dude, you could drop a Jolly Rancher at the wrong place in the movie and intoxicate. Anyway.
Well, no, there's a strong point on that. I think, honestly, if you bookend the year with DC movies that were female-led and directed by females, Birds of Prey got the vitriol first. I mean, there was a whole class of misogynistic sons of bitches out there on the internet, mostly male, that were dogging the movie unnecessarily. And was it perfect? No. But it had some badass action sequences filmed in it, directed by a woman, and honestly, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is a draw. Now, was it a fractured script? A little. And Wonder Woman, I don't think has the same amount of problems, but I want to say that some of that vitriol is it's layer on top of layer of problems we've already got. We got a divisive nation. I'm not going to go into the CNN politics of the whole thing, but everyone wants to be divided all over the place about everything. And I think this is just another option to get all that vitriol up against what is really a positive movie with something positive to say.
If I could say, I watched it happen from afar, Christy, when you posted your first positive reviews. And your first one wasn't even that strongly worded, but boy, did it draw a reaction to people who were invested in being salty about this movie.
Salt. The salt must flow. Let the hate flow through.
Now, the question I have is that how much of this was due to the marketing plans and how much it was promoted and how much anticipation was built behind it?
I think that's probably a fair question because I think people have been waiting a long time for it. It does come in at a 2.5 hour time. But still, and it's a completely different tone from the first film. The first film sets it up in 1919. You have her fighting kind of villains, and she's becoming herself. And then in Wonder Woman 1984, the marketing to me was very clear because it was very 1984 Wonder Woman. And so to me, my expectation was set at this 80s action, maybe a little Superman 2, Big Trouble in Little China, maybe a little Beastmaster 2. I was feeling those kind of vibes. And so I went into it with that expectation. You know, hey.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I mean, that was probably one of the main problems, though, was like the people that are seeing that stuff now that get that, aren't our age that anymore.
I was surprised though at the vitriol of the movie, right? Because like this is not, I'm interested to hear everybody's take on it. I felt like it was a perfectly serviceable superhero movie with some good action scenes. It was too long for me. I didn't necessarily love it, but I didn't dislike it by any stretch of the imagination.
the length wasn't an issue for me. Everyone's talking about how 2.5 hours was an issue. I'm like, please, Avengers Endgame, come on. I'm just going to call that card. Just saying. Or Lord of the Rings, pick one. But, I mean, if you're going to complain about length of a Wonder Woman movie, you might as well complain about the length of Superman the movie. Same running time, almost, if not close enough. Now, what I love about this movie is it was fan service without being condescending. We got certain elements in the movie that I'm not going to say to avoid spoilers, but things that you would commonly want.
No, spoil it all. We're going to spoil the hell out of this. Chris, go.
Okay. Good. I got Trump background, so go ahead.
Spoilers, go. Chris Moore,
right.
go.
Okay, anyone
and
watching?
And then I want Konnichiwa next.
Okay, so we got to see an invisible jet. We got to see Wonder Woman flying. We got to see her throwing her tiara. Things that we have not seen in a modern Wonder Woman movie. Things that we want to see in that character. We got to see Gal Gadot give an incredibly emotional performance. We got a movie which was really essentially a man versus nature story, depicted extraordinarily well considering its superhero coding. Think about that, because that's one of the problems that the movie really has. If you think about it, you have a villain that's largely undercut by it being truly a man versus nature story. But the bottom line is, this is a movie that actually worked. I wish the pandemic were over so I could see it in an IMAX screen, just to see the visual flourish of Wonder Woman flying in the air and her discovering that. I mean, as much as an ode to Patty Jenkins' father, because she grew up the daughter of a fighter pilot. And that was recently explained in her Rogue Squadron teaser.
Konnichiwa. You watched Wonder Woman most recently.
Yes, I did.
I'm
going to just hand the floor over to Zach now. And Zach, enlighten us, please.
Here's the floor. Here's the salt. Here's the floor. Here's the salt, and here's the pepper. This is not only Wonder Woman 84. This is Wonder Woman 84 MacGuffins. Oh okay. My God! Everything was just one MacGuffin after another. The fighter plane, a fully fueled fighter plane in the archives of the Smithsonian. Wow. Really, I can turn things invisible. But I can't fly. Wonder Woman knows how to fly a friggin' jet. Wonder Woman knows how to friggin' fly. This was ridiculous. It was absolutely every MacGuffin, one after another, including the second bad guy. This was Spider-Man 3 all over again. And the fact that you didn't need Cheetah. You had a perfectly serviceable villain in Max Lord. I could have been fine with that, and you could have shortened the movie a half hour. But no! We have to have Venom. Oh, I'm sorry. Cheetah, who has to have basically one magical wish. Are you kidding me? The whole thing was basically Aladdin 2 Electric Boogaloo. Oh my God. If there were any more MacGuffins in this frigging movie, all it would have been was just a fucking Hitchcock run from one way to get to the other, because all I needed was the Time Bandits map to get me from this point to this point. That's all there is. I swear to God, every bit of it was just a MacGuffin. I was looking for problems. Because I'd heard the reviews. I was going, okay, why are they rating this movie so badly? And like I said, I was I was fine with Wonder Woman. I was glad to see the tiara, the lasso of justice, all that good stuff. What they did with her was fine. What they did with everything else was just trash. They rushed this film. They rushed it. I swear to God, Patty Jenkins deserved better. Cheetah definitely deserved better. Cheetah deserved her own movie. This is basically a TV movie and nothing better.
First of all,
I think that was the purpose, though.
Cheetah is a
You look at let's look at like 80 stuff. 80 stuff is pretty much like that. It's pretty much a big ass MacGuffin all over the place all the time.
And I'm fine with that when it's Bill and Ted. I'm not fine with that when it's a 10-pole Wonder Woman movie.
Well, I mean, like, look, it's freaking Wonder Woman 84. And it's just going to be playing off of that. Yeah, it's going to be playing off of all these different things of the past, but at the same time, it's bringing an element to it that's different. Like, it's bringing some contemporaneous to it, like with a persona of like the 80s to it that I liked. You know, I like the lunacy of things. I like that whole intro with the whole mall sequence. I mean, I could look at everything in there, from the Walden books to the dude over there with the cheesy yell in the corner. That was a robber. I was looking at that thing going, this is like the corniest 80s movies ever. And it made sense to me. But
very intentional.
That was Stranger Things season 3.
Yeah, I wasn't offended by any of that. And like I said, I'm in a room with 4 comic book nerds. I'm the casual fan here. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to get me involved, don't give me MacGuffins. Give me credibility. Give me a reason.
But I
to
think
go back to
that's
the comics
why
and go.
Listen, I think that's why the comic book fans aren't offended by it. I mean, like, MacGuffins are part of life in comic books. That kind of stuff is all over the place. Yeah. Like, you don't dissect every little aspect of, you know, a Justice League comic or a Crisis on Infinite Earths looking for, oh, this person isn't trained in that particular plane or whatever. You know, I understand what you're saying, that there was a bunch of goofy MacGuffins. I think my question is, why are people coming down harder on this movie than they are on plenty of superhero movies that have had similar problems?
Like Martha. I call it Martha, but it's Batman versus Superman, but it's Martha. And it's like...
Yeah, I wonder how many of the people panning this have a steelbook copy of, you know, Dawn of Justice on their shelf, which is a terrible movie, especially compared to this.
No, I have a huge... I'm sorry, Stella, go ahead.
I think a lot of it is due to the fact that this is like one of the biggest initiatives of something being streamed. And they're looking for something that's like, okay, it's going to be streamed and it's going to be in the movie theaters. And there's this big fight between keeping things in the theater and streaming. You know, and like HBO did this whole big thing of where, hey, we're going to introduce all these movies that are going to be coming out. Like Warner Brothers said, all these movies are going to be coming out through streaming through HBO Max, and everybody got pissed off, and there's this whole big thing going. And this is pretty much the first step. And so everybody's looking for something.
Yeah, I would add on to that. I wonder how much of the reaction it's getting that's causing the mixed review piece of it is how much of it is actual critical thinking skills like Zach's trying to apply to it, and how much of it is some sort of deep-seated other toxic problem that someone wants to apply to it that doesn't really need to be there.
Maybe I'm nuts. I enjoyed watching it more than I did the first one. It had more action, more kind of, like I said, I thought it was too long, but it moved more fun for me. The action scenes were great. All those scenes in the sky were beautiful to watch. You know, it had a lot to enjoy about it. I liked Kristen Wiig.
Right.
You know?
The Alex Ross imprint on it, especially those sky scenes, especially, you know, a lot of the pans and things like that. The Alex Ross influence is really there. But man, the 2 hours of the movie centering around Max Lord was fine. It's all the stuff that I had a problem with Cheetah. Not Cheetah, I thought, like I said, is a villain who deserves her own flick. And if they'd saved her for the third movie, it would have been much improved. It was at least half hour, 45 minutes of stuff that didn't need to be there, or at least stuff that they could have led up to in the third sequel.
Here, I took a screenshot of Cheetah's costume here, so we can get a closer look. This is the CGI 4K screenshot.
So many jokes here. Guys, I hate that. Cheetah in Super Friends is like a one-note villain, right? she's always been one note to me. And in this movie, she was dimensionalized a hell of a lot more. I mean, yeah, it's a little Clan of the Cave Bear action here, the way you're just, you know.
I rolled into it. When I that mall scene for the most part in combination with the marketing, when that mall scene had the bumbling crooks and the bad guys and they're tripping over themselves, felt like an 80s mall scene, except for the whole aerobics class in the center of the mall. We didn't really do that, but
oh no, we needed that.
The calisthenics, we needed that. I'll let you guys rate on that one. They should have had Judge Reinhold in there, just do a cameo.
Orange Julius, maybe.
You want one. I think it's great. Because to me, I set my expectation when I saw that mall scene. I was like, oh, this one's going a completely different direction than the first one. And I guess I just dialed into it and I accepted it for what it was. And when she's doing those beautiful, like, ballerina swan dives and these bumbling crooks are tripping over each other, but they're just mortals. Like, I kind of got it. I kind of was like, oh, I see. She's just kind of taking her time with these guys because she could break them in half, but she won't. And so, I don't know. I mean, I think the film does have some flaws in it, but ultimately, I just kind of understood that, oh, she's doing this love letter to the 80s action kind of films that are normally male-dominated, and it's stuff that I hadn't seen with a female in the front. And I really liked Kristen Wiig's portrayal, believe it or not. I actually liked her as Cheetah. And I grew up in DC in the 80s during this time period, so there was a little nostalgia for me there, because I kind of like what Chris was saying. Like, I saw Smithsonian, I saw the Metro, which was very clean. It's never that clean, but I just saw these things, and I was like, oh, I kind of connected to that. So I think it just spoke to me, and it pulled me in. But I still loved it.
Well, and I'm also a guy who comes in with a whole lot of problems with the whole DC cinematic universe. So, like I said, Wonder Woman, the first one, rose above those expectations. Everything else that I've seen has really dropped below, and that includes Birds of Prey, that includes Suicide Squad. Just, I have so many problems with the DC universe that this was not the worst one, but like I said, I wanted better.
So I actually think when you stack it up against. I was going to say, I think when you stack it up against other DC movies, I understand Marvel's raised the bar, without a doubt. And Marvel's made a lot of really good superhero movies. But when you stack this one up against the other DC ones of the modern era, the modern, like, DCEU, say post-Nolan, this one would be really high, actually. This one's right up near the very top.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than both Superman and the Batman thing. It's definitely better than Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey and Dawn of Justice and all that kind of stuff. So,
and see, I loved Birds of Prey, but again, I'm going to give special points to anything that's female led, because I haven't had that. As lovely as these gentlemen look, I do get tired. It becomes a bit of a sausage fest. Okay, so I like being able, and I grew up in a time where, I grew up in the 80s. Where all the films out catered to, like, I like science fiction, action, and fantasy. All men were the leads. So that's why, like, Princess Leia, I had completely freaked out for, because she's like, oh my God, she's not being rescued. She doesn't want to be rescued, and she's kicking y'all's ass. But so kind of seeing that was like, oh, finally. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on today's discussion of the People's Court of Wonder Woman 84. It has been a pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Y'all take care.
All right.
Yeah, be safe.
Bye, everyone.